All right. Everyone's going to need to stand by for a moment. I do apologize. And there we go. All right. If you guys can let me know if there's an echo, there may be having some technical issues. I was expecting sound issues on this, so I do apologize. Let me, in fact, no, this is not on both channels. I'd like to start broadcasting on both channels again, but I haven't had a chance to really get into that. We're going to do okay. Hopefully, that's going to take care of the echo. So, thank you. In the middle of a changeover on this, so is what it is. So, Joe Biden has just spoken on what's going on in the Ukraine. We're going to need to, yeah, we're going to need to. All right, so let's see. I'm not going to continue until I can be convinced that the echo is gone. The echo should be gone. I'll give it an extra minute. You guys can let me know. Perfect. All right, thank you. So, Joe Biden just finished a speech a short while ago on what's going on in the Ukraine, and we're going to carry that speech for you, and then we're going to break down some of the things he said. The situation is unfortunately unraveling. They're now testing. Russia has said that they're going to begin testing intercontinental ballistic missiles. These are the vehicles. One of the sets of vehicles that can deploy nuclear weapons. This isn't a threat on Ukraine. This is a threat on us. So they are starting to escalate this even further. We're going to get into what that means and what we're looking at. But this thing with Ukraine has been serious for a while. Well, no, let's listen to the president, and then we will go into what some of the implications are. So let me just double check the sound. Like I said, we're in the middle of a changeover. So my suspicion is the sound issues are correct. But hey, let's not. It wouldn't be in time if I could guarantee that. So are we? I think we should be set. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. All right. Thank you. We'll start that speech once again. So you've been all right. Sorry about that. So let's let's all right. Yeah. Bad time to be trying to do the sound system here. So let me cue that up again, and we will give that one more shot. I do apologize. All right. So that's queued up. Let's just see. I'm gonna have to try to find another way to fix this. So let's yeah, yeah. If I shoot my equipment, would I do that live? That's a really good question. I'd be tempted. All right. So that is boom, boom. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm not even on the Discord right now. So the other way to do this, that's really bizarre. You should have actually heard that. I assume you guys can hear me bitching and moaning about the sound. So assuming you guys can still hear me, what I'm going to do is, oh, that's really weird. That should have come through. All right, let me try one quick thing here, and nope, that's not coming through. So, and I suspect I know why actually. So give me give me one more minute, and let's give this a oh, that is why. What do you know? That means, all right. Well, I have some interesting news. I actually managed to diagnose the problem. So now the next question is how to fix it, and I will need a second on that. Oh, thank you for Big Mac, the sound person. Thank you so much, and thank you for your support. It's all right. Let me boom, boom, boom. So if we're gonna do this, best way to do it would be this way. All right, I'm gonna just test this real quick and see if we fix the sound. No. All right. One other way to try to fix the sound on this. I apologize. Right in the middle of a whole bunch when we decided to go with this, so wasn't quite ready to go on this. What we could do, actually, this might work. That might work. All right, we're gonna try this again. All right, has this got sound? Nope, looks like that's not it. Really doesn't want to do sound today, and I am going to be unable to. Oh dear Lord! Hi, Mr. Producer. We can't. Yeah, I know exactly. Right. So I do apologize. We were prepared to do a very different kind of show. We were in standby on the assumption that there was in fact going to be a invasion of Ukraine, and oh. We obviously that has not yet happened, but the White House has come out and said now that Putin has in fact made up his mind. He will be invading Ukraine. They have an idea of what his battle plan is going to be. That has also come out. I think it's which news organization? Somebody, it was Reuters, I think, came out with an estimate of what they think the battle plan is going to be. We've seen some false flag events. I would like to discuss that. I'd like to try to get this video to play first, and actually I have one other. No, that's not going to work because this was just worst possible time to try to do a show. Got one other quick idea on how to do this. That may work. So, anyway, so what we're looking at is Russia is escalating. They are implicitly threatening NATO by having what they say is going to be an ICBM test. They're going to be testing basically intercontinental ballistic missiles that can be used to attack and to drop nuclear weapons on anybody they choose. So it's rather provocative for them to be doing that at this point. I think the only reason for them to do that is a warning for the U.S. to not interfere. I'm mixed on this. The U.S. has pulled out all troops and all diplomats out of Oh, and we had it. Now we don't have it anymore. This is going to turn out to be one heck of a. So thank you very much for the super chat while we try to get this sorted. We just had now multiple systems here that aren't even related to each other have failed. So we need one more minute as I try to do this. That's Eastern Ukraine prompts. That could be it. No, that's a 30-second file. All right. Is there any? Yes, there's one other way I can think of to get this done. This is turning out to be delightful. So at any rate, we pulled out all our troops. Now, one of the things that kept us from invading Cuba when the Soviets were building multiple missile installations there was that those missile installations were manned by Soviets. So if we invaded, it would be an act of war. They would be empowered and, in fact, probably required to retaliate against the United States. So we obviously did not want them to do that. So we did everything we could to avoid attacking those installations. There is an argument, I think, to be made. I haven't heard this. If anybody's heard any counters to this, it's aggressive, but I think we probably should have left U.S. civilians there. Now, that's kind of like using a human shield, so I will confess to being ambivalent about it. But on the flip side, I don't see any other way at this point to keep them from actually attacking. And if they're U.S. civilians and or troops there, I have to believe it would give them pause. Yep, the audio system has completely failed on this right now. So there's one more way to try to trick it. So I may give that a shot. Anyway, so we have pulled out everybody from Ukraine. The Russians have expelled our second highest ranking ambassador now from Russia. So yeah, this is pretty serious. And like I said, I do want to do a post-mortem and try to figure out really what we're looking at in the larger context. But in order to do that, we really probably should play this video for you. So, and it's not. Oh, there is one more way to trick this thing. Oh, I hate fly by the seat of your pants patch jobs, but that may work. All right, let's give that a shot. We'll give this a shot, see if this works. Okay, that's not registering anything, so we'll try one more on a crossover here. We'll see if this works. If this doesn't, this just wants to be difficult. Yep. All right. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to have to do, I think at this point, because we are going to have to play this, and it really does not want to play. Oh, actually, I just came up with one other solution to this. So let me try our last ditch Dorito chip attempt at this, and just do a straight line in. Right. We're just going to yank. You know what we're going to do? We are going to yank this directly off the interwebs. So rather than try to integrate this into the system, yep, that's what we're going to do. All right, so this is just going to take 1 second here. Boom. All right, this is going to be a little harder to work with, but honestly, hey, at least you'll be able to see it. So, all right, yeah, we have sound. All right. So let's get this queued up now, and we will have this up in just a minute. There we go. Yep, we got sound on this. It's probably still take another just a short dry run to get the sound, and then as we are doing that, we're going to have to discuss after this. I think where we stand. It's unfortunately, I notice I say this a lot. It's a remarkable situation. We have a lot of remarkable situations, but the biggie with this is that we don't know where this is going to. Putin is starting to act a little crazy, and bringing the ICBMs into this is insane. And the general consensus at this point is this is absolutely he's going to do this. And then the question is, what do? We don't want to engage in appeasement. We don't want to sit there and let him do it. The problem is sanctions aren't going to work. He knows he's going to get sanctions. He knows they're coming, and he's basically re-engineered their entire economy to withstand sanctions. They do almost everything local now. It's not great for their economy. It would be better if they worked internationally, but it's dramatically reduced the leverage that we have against them. So at this point, there's nothing we can really do to stop them. And the question is, what are they going to do after this? Biden is saying that he believes they're going to go straight for Kiev. This is a dramatic change in what sort of the common sense has been, is that they're going to do a mild incursion. Multiple sources have said that they don't have sufficient troops to take cities. But originally when we looked at this, we said it did look like, in fact, he was going to be doing basically a beeline to Kiev. And Biden is now saying that he believes that's going to be their intentions. So we're going to, let's see. If this one doesn't work, I may just drop it right into the overlay, and we can put it on over. Okay, well, there you go. And there's some random, I have no idea who that guy is. So, well, let's, oh, I know. Okay, there we go. Oh, that was actually right. Okay. So let's just see, we should have sound. So once again, if there's any sound issues, let me know, but I
to pay each family forced to leave, forced to escape because of an impending Ukrainian invasion, the equivalent of $130.
All right, Richard, here's the president.
Today, I made two vital calls, as I've been making for some months now. Two vital calls that on the situation in Russia and Ukraine. The first was to a bipartisan group of members of Congress who are currently representing the United States, along with Vice President Harris at the Munich Security Conference. The second was the latest in a series of calls over the past many months with the heads of state of our NATO allies and the European Union, to bring them up to date on what the United States thinks is the current state of affairs and what's likely to happen in Ukraine in the coming days, to ensure that we continue to remain in lockstep, that is, the European Union and NATO. Despite Russia's efforts to divide us at home and abroad, I can affirm that has not happened. The overwhelming message of both calls was one of unity, determination, and resolve. I shared with all of those on the calls what we know about a rapidly escalating crisis in Ukraine. Over the last few days, we've seen reports of a major uptick in violations of the ceasefire by Russian-backed fighters attempting to provoke Ukraine in the Donbass. For example, a shelling of a Ukrainian kindergarten yesterday, which Russia has falsely asserted was carried out by Ukraine. We also continue to see more and more disinformation being pushed out to the Russian public, including Russian-backed separatists, claiming that Ukraine is planning to launch a massive offensive attack in the Donbass. Well, look, there is simply no evidence of these assertions, and it defies basic logic to believe the Ukrainians would choose this moment, with well over 150,000 troops arrayed on its borders, to escalate a year-long conflict. Russia's state media also continues to make phony allegations of a genocide taking place in the Donbass and push fabricated claims warning about Ukraine's attack on Russia without any evidence. That's just what I'm sure Ukraine's thinking of doing, attacking Russia. All of these are consistent with the playbook the Russians have used before, to set up a false justification to act against Ukraine. This is also in line with the pretext scenarios that the United States and our allies and partners have been warning about for weeks. Throughout these tense moments, the Ukrainian forces have shown great judgment and, I might add, restraint. They refused to allow the Russians to bait them into war. But the fact remains, Russian troops currently have Ukraine surrounded from Belarus along the Russian border and with Ukraine to the Black Sea in the south and all of its border. You know, look, we have reason to believe the Russian forces are planning to and intend to attack Ukraine in the coming week, in the coming days. We believe that they will target Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, a city of 2.8 million innocent people. We're calling out Russia's plans loudly and repeatedly, not because we want a conflict, but because we're doing everything in our power to remove any reason that Russia may give to justify invading Ukraine and prevent them from moving. Make no mistake, if Russia pursues its plans, it will be responsible for a catastrophic and needless war of choice. The United States and our allies are prepared to defend every inch of NATO territory from any threat to our collective security as well. We also will not send troops in to fight in Ukraine, but we will continue to support the Ukrainian people. This past year, the United States provided a record amount of security assistance to Ukraine to bolster its defensive, $650 million from Javelin missiles to ammunition. We also previously provided $500 million in Ukraine and humanitarian aid and economic support for Ukraine. And earlier this week, we also announced an additional sovereign loan guarantee of up to $1 billion to strengthen Ukraine's economic resilience. But the bottom line is this: the United States and our allies and partners will support the Ukrainian people. We will hold Russia accountable for its actions. The West is united and resolved. We're ready to impose severe sanctions on Russia if it further invades Ukraine. But I say again, Russia can still choose diplomacy. It is not too late to de-escalate and return to the negotiating table. Last night, Russia agreed that Secretary of State Blinken and Foreign Minister Lavrov should meet on February 24th in Europe. But if Russia takes military action before that date, we'll be clear that they have slammed the door shut on diplomacy. They will have chosen war, and they will pay a steep price for doing so, not only from the sanctions that we and our allies will impose on Russia, but the moral outrage the rest of the world will visit upon them. You know, there are many issues that divide our nation and our world, but standing up to Russian aggression is not one of them. The American people are united. Europe is united. The transatlantic community is united. Our political parties in this country are united. The entire free world is united. Russia has a choice between war and all the suffering it will bring, or diplomacy that will make a future safer for everyone. Now, I'm happy to take a few questions. Nancy from Bloomberg.
Thank you so much, sir. Do you think that it is wise for President Zelensky to leave Ukraine if an invasion is as imminent as the U.S. says it is?
That's a judgment for him to make, and a determination as to whether or not. I've spoken with Zelensky a dozen times, maybe more, I don't know. And it's in the pursuit of a diplomatic solution, it may not be it may be the wise choice, but it's his decision.
And do you have any indication about whether President Putin has made a decision on whether to invade? Do you feel confident that he hasn't made that decision already?
As of this moment, I'm convinced he's made the decision. We have reason to believe that.
There seems to be a unanimity of spirit to do between the United States and Europe to do some sanctions, the comprehensive sanctions. But is everyone on board with the exact same sanctions that you want to do?
Yes. There will be some slight differences, but none. There'll be more add-ons than subtractions.
And President Putin is going to oversee some nuclear drills this weekend. How do you see that happening? What's your reaction to that, sir? Thank you.
Well, I don't think he is remotely contemplating using nuclear weapons. But I do think I think he is focused on trying to convince the world that he has the ability to change the dynamics in Europe in a way that he cannot. But I don't. How much of it is a cover for just saying we're just doing exercises, and there's more than that? I just can't. It's hard to read his mind.
Mr. President, to be clear, you are convinced that President Putin is going to invade Ukraine. Is that what you just said a few moments ago?
Yes, I did. Yes.
So is diplomacy off the table then?
No. Until he does, diplomacy is always a possibility.
What reason do you have to believe he's considering that option at all?
We have a significant intelligence capability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a show if I didn't start muted there for a sec. It's amazing to have an intelligence community that we can actually depend on and we're not throwing under the bus. Also, just to deal with the I'm aware it's a troll just trying to derail us, but it goes. It's worth noting. Yeah, Biden confuses words and he seems like he's half asleep, and I'm not thrilled by any of that. He's cogent, he speaks the language, and he knows what the words mean, and he seems to have some idea of what it means to be president of the United States. All three are vast improvements over the last one. So, first of all, so to reiterate, and I said next week, but I was incorrect. It's actually tomorrow. As of tomorrow, Russia is going to be initiating a number of practice drills of intercontinental ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. Now, I think President Biden had it roughly correct. He's not going to use these against Crimea. The reason he's doing it is to remind us that he's got them and to show us that he's willing to use them so that we are limited in how we attempt to reply. Like, as I said, it's a bold move, but I think leaving a contingent of U.S. forces there is the only way to deter this. And the problem is right now we don't have enough, we have no way to stop them. Basically, if Moscow does invade Ukraine, we've got the problem, which is if the Western NATO is to maintain any credibility at all, there has to be a response. And the question is, do we care about a response that looks good or a response that does something? Right now, we don't seem to have a response that can actually do something. We can't do a tremendous amount of damage to them economically. We're not going to go ostensibly to war with them, and flaunting ICBMs tomorrow is not a good idea. At any rate, it looks like the war was set to start yesterday. And so let's get into that. Let's actually get up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up a map here of what we're looking at, so you can get hopefully a pretty good idea of exactly what's going on. And it's a little shocking, actually. So let's. I'm going to need 1 second here. And again, by the way, I kind of went over that super chat that we got earlier because show and dealing with stuff. But that was Michael Westby, $5 for a Big Mac for the sound person. Much appreciated. I think it's going to be a bit of a stressful, and I know you can probably hear the clicking of the mouse, which I absolutely detest. We were working on the sound and improving it, and I think our sound is not clipping or doing what it used to be doing on the last show, but I was really right in the middle of testing that one. It's like, oh, let's go live. Is the sound going to work? Who knows? So let's take that down there. So what you're looking at is a basic map of the region. So I'm going to pull this out just a bit. And you're not going to be able to read much unless you're looking at this in HD. We stream in HD, but even in HD, this is going to be a little hard to make out here. But what you've got is, and you may not be able to make out these red lines particularly well. So I'm going to, yeah, but you can see the borders right there anyway. We're basically, okay, right now we're looking at central Ukraine. Now, in the Donbass region, that's the region on the west, two factions have splintered out, two regions there saying that they are independent and they no longer wish to be part of Ukraine. In fact, they want to be part of Russia. Russia has been eagerly supporting this. They've been sending money, training, and troops. They deny this. We know for a fact they're doing it, but it's the usual thing. And by the way, it's not. We did the same thing in Afghanistan, so But at this point, they've been trying to basically start a civil war in Ukraine, giving them a pretext to go in. They've so far failed, but there's been significant fighting. There was a ceasefire between the rebels in the Donbass area and Ukraine. That ceasefire has been violated now repeatedly, as you can see on the map down there. So the Donbass is western Ukraine, and that's that region there. Outside to the west of that is Russia. To the south of that is Crimea, and we're going to bring that up right here. And Crimea has now seen some activity that we're going to have to discuss. And then to the north, I've forgotten the name of this region here. On the north, that is what? No, I've forgotten it, and I don't have it handy. But you can see there's no action, but there's 2 deployments there. Ukraine is basically surrounded on 3 sides by Russians. So what's happening in the Donbass region? Now, the initial assumption was if they invade, they're probably just going to take the Donbass region. They don't necessarily need, we covered this when we had Commander Lance McMillan on to discuss this, that if they take anything, it's probably, the Donbass is what's most valuable to them. They have to try to hold the rest of the country. That's going to be really hard to do. They don't want to fight a guerrilla warfare. So the thinking is they're just going to take the Donbass if they invade. Right now, intelligence from, I think it was Romania. No, it wasn't Romania, but it was a Western European country. Basically said no, he's going to go for Kiev, and he's planning sort of a lightning war. Sorry for the use of that. Straight to Kiev. They think based on the deployments that's going to be the goal, and they're just going to try to take Kiev in record time. Essentially, do what we did in Baghdad. So Biden has now confirmed that is now the U.S. position, that they're going to be going straight for Kiev, which means they're just going to go right past the Donbass. They can afford to do that if the rebels keep fighting. The rebels have now issued an evacuation of the Donbass civilians. That was not expected. So what that means is anybody's guess. My suspicion is that means they've been in touch with Moscow. They know that there's about to be an invasion. They have been given, I think it was 30,000 rubles each. No, I think it's 10,000. Sorry, 10,000 rubles. Every civilian that crosses from the Donbass to Russia gets 30,000 rubles. That's the equivalent of about $127. And that's just sort of spending and living money. That sounds like it's almost nothing. That's actually a reasonably significant sum. At least it was last time I checked and last time I was in Russia. That's actually a pretty good chunk of change for them. There's a difference between the soft and hard currency, which is why it's so little dollars. You can do a lot with that. So again, last time I checked, I haven't been in Russia in a long time. But at any rate, so they're evacuating the citizens. Now, the biggie is yesterday there was a schoolhouse that was hit with artillery fire. Now, there were no children there. It was I think it was a kindergarten or preschool. We don't have the image of that right now, so I do apologize for that. But the first report out of Russia was that was actually a school. If I recall, the first report was that was a school that was hit in Crimea by the Ukrainians, and Russia said that they would avenge the school. Almost immediately after that, Ukraine was able to bring their own police to that school and air footage of that school where it is. It's in Ukraine, and it was hit not by the Ukrainians, but by ostensibly, at this point, Donbass rebels. So this was, we believe, and I think the sort of impetus is that this was a false flag operation that was intended to start the invasion. But Ukraine moved. They were ready for this. They're not joking. They literally, when it happened and when Russia said we're going to avenge these poor school children, they showed up and said this did not happen outside of Ukraine, and it was not done by Ukraine. So it was a Ukrainian school hit by a third party. At this point, I think it's probably the rebels. So Russia has since backed that off, and no invasion. But it's clear they are attempting to fabricate a false flag event for the invasion, and it looks like they were literally busted in the act of doing that. So that is on this map. So what do we have on this map? As I said, to the west of this red area is Russia. what you see here, all of these dots are various incidents that have occurred in the last 2 or 3 days, different types of attacks. These are all violations of the ceasefire. The rebels and Ukraine are now going at it and accusing each other of violating. No, that's one of the things. Thank you, Jake Ford. Didn't Ukraine dam up the Crimea River? I don't know. They have a way around it. They are deploying. They're using it to bring. Nobody knows. We don't know for certain what's in the ships, but ostensibly it's supplies for engaging in a war against Ukraine. They've been dropping off some form of supplies in Crimea. We're going to get to that in a second. So let's see. What do we have here? We've got. Over here, there was an attack on humanitarian aid that was done by the actually Russian forces. So the Russian forces appear to have engaged somewhere here. It's a little unclear as to how or what. What we have all along here is various ceasefire violations. Every side is blaming each other. Now, one of the things, and we have current clashes. So this is from 7 hours ago. You'll see I've made it in yellow right here. This is the site of a clash between rebels and, well, sorry, not rebels. It's Ukraine. We believe Ukraine resistance fighters and artillery. Ukraine has now asked every civilian to arm, and they've been training civilians. We've got some footage of that. We'll be playing that later. We're not going to cover that right now today. I think we're going to do that if and when the invasion starts. This was really just to cover Biden, his speech, and what we're looking at for the near future. So, but they're basically, and they're taking everyone. I don't know if they're taking children, but they're taking women, they're taking old men, they're taking absolutely everybody and arming them. They've been practicing, in some cases with live weapons, in other cases with wooden cutouts, learning basically how to fight and preparing for a guerrilla campaign. Let's see what we've got here. So this is all damaged. And all of this right now is the rebels. So technically you can't blame Russia for this. We do know, let's see, joint force operations. Okay, so they're reporting 29 ceasefire violations in the last 2 days. A few Russian intercepts. Russian fighters have been violating the airspace here so far. They have slowly, but nonetheless, acquiesced to redirects. In one case, they didn't, but that was in the Middle East. Okay, so we're going to go to joint opera. Oh, no, that's just the central. Okay. So basically, well, what you can see here is there's already fighting. There's significant fighting between Russian-backed Donbass rebels and Ukraine. And what I think is going to happen is as soon as the civilians are cleared, Russia's going to invade, and they're going to start with the Donbass. And what they're going to do is they're going to say, oh, well, this is a humanitarian issue. They're not going to have to work very hard in the Donbass because there's enough rebels there, and they've now gotten all the civilians out. If you're a civilian and you don't want to fight, you've got only one choice at this point, which is you're going to go to Russia. Even if you hate Russia, if you're a Ukrainian civilian, you need to go. So all that's going to be left is either the rebels or people who are loyal to Ukraine, who are at this point going to be stuck in a extremely difficult guerrilla war campaign, because this is going to be the front line of where the invasion comes in. We've got an invasion map again. Sorry, it's all set for. We were prepared. We've been prepared for an invasion. We've got all the media we need for that. This we just set up because Biden spoke, and I wanted to make sure you guys heard it. So we don't really have everything loaded for this stream. All of what's been going on here. Let's see. So that covers East-West, and Biden did make one excellent point. They're accusing Ukraine of instigating. They're accusing Ukraine of attacking. The problem is there's 140,000 Russian troops here. Ukraine has absolutely no reason to attack and every reason not to. This is an unprecedented buildup. We now have more than half the forces within 30 miles of the border. They are actually, in fact, they are officially in attack position. They don't need to do anything else to start an attack. All of their frontline troops are where they need to be to attack. All the tanks, all mechanized. They have a field hospital that is now ready. and they have artillery that is in a final position to attack. So everything is ready. We're waiting. We had that false flag, as I told you. So this is north, south, east, east, west. This is west. Here to the south, this is Crimea that you're seeing here. And this is obviously under Russian control. We have 2 ports here. This port, this is actually, sorry, this is not a port. This is a Russian staging area that has been set up for the invasion that they say they are not going to do. It's a military staging area. We don't know what they're doing there, but it appears like they're preparing to come in from the south. So the west, they're going to take Donbass. South, they're going to come in from Crimea. This right here is naval shipping. We have satellite imagery of, let's see, what is that? A Rapucha class LST. I have no idea what that is, but it's military logistics vehicles, it looks like, coming in. We also have the Russian 291st Motorized Rifle Regiment and the 136th Motorized Rifle Brigade that have been moved out of their positions in Crimea. The 1st Tank Army Brigade, the 6th Independent Tank Brigade, 47th Tank Division. These are all being deployed out of Crimea. We don't know where they're headed. So that's the south. So south, we have west. All that's left here is the north. So we're going to go to northern Crimea here on this part of the map. There hasn't been any fighting, so you only see 2 dots, and these are just the basic layouts of their current deployments. Half of all the Russian soldiers are right there in that one red dot. We're going to zoom that in. That's about half. Half are here. This is 30 miles off the border, and right now they are just waiting. You can see the border right here. So that should give you an idea of what's going on to the north. And then let's see. This is also a new temporary military base. Looks like that's been set up right here. This ostensibly is where they're going to supply the front lines. So that's what we've got. We've got a staging area of some kind, and half of all of the troops 30 miles from the border on the north. The vast majority of the remaining here, right along in this area back here, prepared to enter Donbass, and significant fighting in Donbass between rebels and Ukrainian forces. Their goal would be, of course, to go straight through and I'll be honest. Let's see. It's been a while since I've tried to find Kiev on a map. So, no, that's not Kiev. So, I don't have enough familiarity with this map to locate Kiev. But they're going to come in ostensibly at least from the north and the south and supply from Ukraine. Not Ukraine, sorry, Crimea. So that is the map as we see it now. What do we got? Okay, once again, just there's Crimea, there's Donbass, and so that's north, south, and west. That's where we are. Again, for those of you just joining us, they are also saying Russia has set several military drills for tomorrow that will involve the use of intercontinental ballistic and cruise missiles. These are the major deployment methods for nuclear weapons. They are not doing this to intimidate Ukraine. I don't think there's any more intimidation of the Ukraine than you can do than now. There's 100, I think, a final tally, most recent tally I'm aware of is about 170,000 Russian troops along the border. Yeah. No, it's to intimidate us. It's to remind us that they've got nuclear weapons and to let us know that they're ready to use them. What are we going to do right now? All we've got is sanctions. The problem is they're prepared for all the sanctions. They generate most of the things they need at home. They don't need to buy anything abroad, and that's deliberate. Putin has been preparing this for a while. If he starts to take Ukraine, what do we do? Well, depends on how we want to play it. The last time something like this happened was prior to World War II. It was the expansion of Germany And they kept taking area and saying, well, this is kind of last we're going to take. And most of Europe said, okay, we'll let them get away with it because it's not worth going to war over, taking little bits of Romania or, whatever it was as they get into it. It's only until I think it was their second major incursion into Poland that we said, okay, this has to stop. So the consensus is the U.S. and NATO has to do something, but they're not going to fight. And the sanctions are going to be almost meaningless. So at this point, I don't know what we do. Again, that's why I said I think deploying troops inside and not giving them permission to fire, just like under no circumstances, even if you're fired upon, you may not return fire. But deploy them there because if they're fired upon, it's an act of war, and now you're using them as human shields and basically playing chicken with Putin, which you don't want to do, but you're going to lose if you don't. So that's what I see. That's where we stand. Allegedly attacking a school, yeah. So the no, so a pro-Ukraine, no, it was a pro-Russian separatist group in the Donbass that attacked a Ukrainian school and then claimed that the Ukrainians had attacked either at first it said a Russian school, but then it was a school in the Donbass. In either case, not true. It was a Ukrainian school shelled by rebels from the Donbass. So they're separatists. They're holding a position at the border. And they've been shelling in violation of a ceasefire agreement into Ukraine, trying to spark a reaction significant enough that Russia can justify going in on humanitarian grounds and or trying to gin up a false flag. The details of that, we dropped it on the Discord. If we don't have, I found an article, it's one of my favorites, that just explains the whole timeline, shows all the video, shows satellite imagery. We know exactly where the school is, shows all the footage of Russia saying this is a Russian school that got hit. And we're going to retaliate. And then all of a sudden, it's like 10 minutes later, Ukrainian officials, nope, here's the school. Here's the street address. Here's where we are. So there you go. So that's the deal, folks. Biden is saying the White House official position is Putin's going to invade. And it's not going to be just the Donbass. He's going to go straight to Kiev. What he's going to do from there, I don't know. We have some, like I said, proposed battle maps that people, experienced military officials have said based on these deployments, what he's probably going to do. And like I said, they're thinking he's going to do a run for Kiev. I think that's going to be coming in from the north. I think the thinking is the initial attack probably will stop at the edge of the Donbass region and just carve off Donbass. You can do that. Depending on how you do it, I bet you could do it in a day. What's the region on that? Hold on one second. Let me try to figure out how much. Okay, no, you can't do it in a day. My suspicion is in maybe 2 days they could cross the entire Donbass region if they go max speed and are really prepared to sort of cover their flank as they do it. I forget what the tech. I sound like I know what I'm doing. I forget what the technical term is. It was Lieutenant. Commander Lance McMillan covered this with us, but because all the civilians are out of Donbass, are going to be out of Donbass in no time flat, and most rebels aren't going to want to fight from. Most people who are going to be the guerrilla fighters aren't going to want to fight from Donbass. They're going to want to join where they can be supplied, and that's going to be. I mean, this is literally going to flip the roles, right? So what you've got is this is Ukraine. This would be an invasion of Ukraine. It's the Donbass region. 2 areas have attempted to secede. There are rebels fighting there that are fighting against Ukraine, and Ukraine's been trying to quell them. These rebels are being backed by Russia, and they want to join Russia. So what Russia does is hit the area, overwhelm the area. All of a sudden, these rebels are no longer rebels. They're basically part of the defense militia because now that area no longer belongs to Ukraine. That area now belongs to, just in terms of technically, in terms of a battle map, not in terms of legally, that area now belongs to Russia. So all of the people that were rebels are now defenders because they've got an entire military on their side, and anybody who stayed behind that was either part of the military or just supportive of Ukraine now goes from the defenders to guerrilla, insurgency. So I think they can do that in less than 2 days just by looking at this, what I'm seeing here, and they're prepared to do it. And that seems to me to be why they're getting the civilians out, so they don't have to try to sort that mess and figure out who's an insurgent and who isn't. Either they've got your colors on or you're shoot and kill them. So in 2 days, they will have that part carved out of the map. Meanwhile, my guess is, and then they don't have to go past that. Once they've got that, they can just start setting up supply chains and they can pause there for a minute. Meanwhile, the North invades, and the North makes a straight run to Kiev. And there's no way they can hold, they can fight off both those fronts. I don't know. The last map I saw suggested a small force coming in from the south, not really trying to actually take any land, more just trying to either set up supply routes, join the south and the Donbass regions, so join Kiev with Donbass, so you have a straight line from one to the other. You can, I said Kiev. I meant to say Crimea. Join Crimea with Donbass. You can then ship anything you need to Crimea, and they can get to Donbass and the entire forces. So I think their goal is going to be to sort of meet in the middle. That's going to be, there you go, that's going to be right here. So they're going to try to combine these two areas. Probably use the river as a natural, or that, what is that? That's the Kherson River. Is that the Kherson? Yeah, so, okay, so the Kherson, use that as a natural. They're going to go along there. That's this river that you now see right in the middle. It's kind of a river to lake area there. Combine those two areas. You'll see now the lower third of the map will become red. And then don't go any further and let the attack from the north come in here. Let them do all the work. By the time they get to Kiev, they'll own more than half, not quite 2/3, but more than half of Ukraine. So I think that's what we're looking at. So, yeah, I think unfortunately Pat's got a point. Despite the fact I normally I'd make a joke about wanting to disagree with Pat, but I think this is it's not as much of a joking mood as I'd like to be. So, anyways, we will. I think at this point the chances of an invasion are easily over 80%. Putin is still unpredictable. Who the fuck knows? And his entire, yeah. Okay. Let's, I'm going to do just, I got to do one quick thing here. So apologies. All right. So, where was I? Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. And, yep, I'm sorry. I think I said it all. I lost my stream of thought. There's a lot going on. So we're ready to go when they invade. He's the only way he can, he's been pulling shit like this all the time and then not invading. It is possible he does this. I mean, every time he has to up the ante if we're ever going to believe him. But I mean, I think at this point, I know you were. I appreciate it. It's too distracting at this point. So thank you. I'm just replying to the DMs. I'm not going to type. So that's where we are. We're going to stay on it. When the invasion happens, we'll go live as soon as we can. Like I said, we're actually already sort of on standby, and we got the show ready to go and the graphics and everything we need. So we're gonna we're gonna do that. All right, perfect. Thank you all for joining us. We will keep you all apprised. Until then, I think we've basically covered everything. Sorry for the sound issues. I'm probably just going to see if I can edit that out so that people don't have to see it going forward. That was Biden's speech. The position, it looks like, of most of the Western powers, NATO, and intelligence services that we referenced. I think last time we discussed this, that all Western European is that he's going to invade, and it's going to be a beeline straight to Kiev. And if he does that, 50-50, no Ukraine after that. Depends on how they respond. If Ukraine survives, it'll be less than half of what it is now. And then we're going to have to figure out what to do. And as I said, that's right now. I understand Biden has to say that there are options. I don't think there are. That sanctions aren't going to do anything. They're going to have very little. Yeah, no sleep for end time. This may be one of those again. was going to say, I remember all the times we've had to do one of those no sleep for a week things. It's like, no, I don't remember them very well. I got the footage, but I'm just like talking out of one bloodshot eye. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for those of you who've been supporting us. I think it is going to be a long week here. I look forward to seeing you. We'll be airing our normal schedule, or any of the non-essential show or non-regularly scheduled shows, after dark stuff like that. We're putting on hold for now, just so that we're prepared for the just so we're ready to go live. And every time we do a different show, it requires resetting everything. So we'll still do our regularly scheduled show. We have a Tuesday and Wednesday planned. We'll talk about that, and I don't want to waste anyone else's time. But we've got some good shows coming up. So check it out on the Discord, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help. Catch you all later.